Let's do this too. I got the story out of UPI. Russian warplanes violate Sweden's airspace. Reportedly, Sweden's Air Force dispatched JAS-39 Gripen aircraft in response to 2 Russian Su-27s and 2 Su-24s briefly entering its airspace east of Gotland Island in the Baltic Sea. We also have reports Japan says a Russian helicopter violated its airspace and scrambled fighter jets. To give you context on the sheer size of Russia, we come over here to where we got Google Earth pulled up. Here's Japan, right? That's Russia right here. There's Vladivostok. And so you've got these islands. We're talking about, what, 50 to 100 miles away from Japan. That's Russia. If we zoom out and go all the way across Russia over to Europe, check it out. Not only do you have Moscow right here with Finland, you have Kaliningrad, which is right here. It's an oblast. And this is Gotland. So Russia is massive. On top of that, let's just go over here and point at the fact that Russia is 50 miles from the United States. So they got a lot. They're spread out very thin. It doesn't mean that they can win, but it does mean that they can reach many different people very, very quickly. And if Russia's been preparing this for some time, they can easily move troops and armaments into various regions, across, very close to many different countries you'd expect to be on the other side of the planet, without anyone knowing, or at the very least without setting off alarm bells and pissing anybody off. It's their own country. It's Russia. So they put troops in the east and the west, and they can effectively be ready to fight on all spheres of the planet.
And one of the things that Jack was just talking about when it comes to the Arctic is we've been watching the Ukraine buildup for a long time, the troop buildup on the Ukraine border for a long time. The Putin's army buildup in the Arctic has been massive. It gets very little coverage, and the ones who are the most afraid are the Norwegians, because they're not members of NATO, right? They're not. I don't believe they're even part of the EU. They're the largest oil and gas producer up there, but Russia is saying no. This is ours. The Arctic is ours, right? And there's a reason why clearly they want the Arctic. They are building enormous and have built enormous LNG ports along their north coast.
In terms
that
of
will export LNG now directly to the world.
In terms of military force, I mean, it's pretty clear that Russia does have a strong command presence when it comes to the Arctic at this point. The United States, I think, only has one icebreaker at this point, and it's always it's kind of in
it's always stuck in the ice.
It's always either yeah, very good. But it's like it's barely works very well. China has a ton of ice cutters, but of course China does not have any actual access to the Arctic. So if China, this is another part of that relationship, this burgeoning relationship that we're seeing between China and Russia. If China wants access to the Arctic, they've got to go through Russia. If Russia wants their financial backstop, they need to go to China. You kick them off SWIFT, well, One Belt, One Road is right there for you. Yeah. So, but Ian, in answer to your question, if I want to curb these, excessive and obviously aggressive and insane behaviors of the Russian government, you can say, all right, we're going to try to put sanctions on Russia, but obviously they've priced that into this proposition. Have we tried putting sanctions or using economic leverage on China, on the oligarchs of the CCP, on CCP leaders, going after them, going after the yuan, using anything that we can there? Because obviously China and the United States do not have a strong trade relationship. We never really have. But China and the United States, oh yeah, obviously.
Russia, you said China. The first time you said China.
Russia and the United States. Russia and the United States.
You think that's just because we don't have sea routes and we're not right? Because China and the United States are kind of right next to each other. I mean, I guess the Russians and the Americans do have plenty of sea connections. They just don't have much to trade. What is it? Why are they not a great trade leader? They're so massive, is what I'm at.
Why
the Russians?
Russia and America not trade leader?
Is it just because it's like uninhabitable? Most of Russia.
Well, most of Russia is uninhabitable. Yeah. Yes, on a map it's massive, but a lot of that area is either unused or it's not arable, or they just don't have the people, the population to. Putin was trying to hire farmers for Siberia at one point, or like recruit people to come in and
give them a place for free as long as they work the land.
Right, they were talking about bringing the South African farmers up there as a way to get away from the issues that they were facing, the farm murders down in South Africa, but. For the majority of that area, right, you're really only looking at it in terms of resources. And when it comes to those resources, as Daniel, of course, would be able to explain much better than me, and knows much better than me, we are competitors in those areas.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying to think of the 21st century and all those resources in Russia with the actual amount of power Russia has, which is not that much. and the amount of land they
Well,
have,
and that's
which is
why-
very, very, very much.
That's why the currency stuff doesn't hit them the way that we would expect it to, because they still have the resources.
But I would disagree. You're saying they're not that powerful. They have what, like 60% of the military capability of the entirety of NATO, and it's substantial.
They have different type. Yeah, they have different type.
More
of power.
nukes.
Absolutely, but I mean,
but
they are our largest. We are their largest customer for fertilizer. Right, around $800 million a year in fertilizer that now probably we're not going to buy. What are we going to do when we live in a rural area? You're getting ready to harvest in a couple of weeks. What are you putting on your field? You need about 100 pounds of fertilizer per acre. So if I have a 5,000 acre cornfield, do I just lose the crop? So I have to buy it from somewhere else. So what are corn prices going to do? What are wheat prices? Wheat prices have already doubled. So what are food? So, I mean, we're worried about, the price at the pump. And I'm an energy guy. I'm worried about the price of the pump. I'm worried this November, I can't imagine what food prices are going to be. And you want to see violence. Wait till people are hungry.
I might have misheard you. I thought you said we sell them.
No, we buy from them.
We buy fertilizer from them.
Yeah, no, we buy from the same. And it's disturbing that we buy it. It's disturbing that we buy so much.
No, it's disturbing that it might get cut off.
It's disturbing that we buy our pharmaceuticals from China, and that is what I hate about globalism. Who decided? Who's the brain trust that said let's put these things in the hands of our enemies?
Let's just point out how moronic the leadership of this country has been. Outsourcing to China, then we get COVID. What does China do? They have their citizens around the world buy up PPE and ship it back to China. We don't make our own medicine. You have to be a special kind of stupid to outsource to China and then pick a fight with Russia, who is going to be working with China. So now we're in this position where, like you brought up, fertilizer, but we've also got vitamin C, antibiotics. Now you get Biden coming out in the State of the Union address being like, we're going to be investing in these chips for computer chips. And he's basically signaling war may be coming and we will lose Taiwan.
I can verify that first thing you said in case anyone thinks that you're lying. Which you never would, or you're misrepresenting the truth. Married to an Australian in November of 19, Andrew said, I was talking to my mom, and he's from a rural town in the outback, and said, my mom said the weirdest thing happened. Like, she was at the grocery, and this bus of some Chinese people got out, and they bought everything. She said, like, what the heck was that? She said, and then, like, neighbors talk. This is November of 19. He was saying, it's so weird. Everyone I talk to in my little town says a van of Chinese people will show up and they will buy everything in the store and it will disappear.
It was reported that
that was
China
that was the beginning of COVID.
Like
China told their citizens in other countries to buy PPE and send it back.
And send it back.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we've been talking a little bit about nuclear weaponry and mutually assured destruction. One thing not a lot of people consider is that biological weaponry is also considered to be a weapon or a form of a weapon of mass destruction. And China literally created one and released it. I know that there's still some debate around that technically, but I think it's pretty straightforward. And so I would say, yeah, well, it's so lab leak, but if a country accidentally detonated a nuke in another nation, I don't think we would give them a pass because it wasn't intentional.
This is the moronic nature of our leadership. For Fauci to be working in any way with any groups that were working with China, you are working with a group that despises you.
Yeah.
The Chinese Communist Party does not like us. They want to displace us. They've insulted us. They outright say they want to take Taiwan. They press the South China Sea. They sink Vietnamese ships. This is not a country we should be like, let's give them more stuff. No. Let's give them more access, more resources, more authority. And it's just the sheer absurdity of the U.S. picking a fight while giving things away it's the craziest thing.
So
I suppose the neoliberal idea is that if we build trade lines, we won't go to war.
Well, that was it. That was
Golden Arches theory.
That was Clinton and the
Golden Arches theory.
Golden Arches.
Golden Arches theory is a version of it. The idea that two nations that have a McDonald's have never gone to war with each other.
Which is not true.
And also
not true now.
So it is. It's interesting because it is the case that countries that stop trading with each other are more likely to go to war.
Libertarians down hard.
Yeah. But that said, yeah, I mean, a huge part of this, I think it's just indicative of our total inability to defer gratification as a people. So there's this country that we're trying to pick fights with, while at the same time still giving away our resources to them because there's a short-term gain for it in it for us. We're not actually thinking about a long-term strategy here when they very much are.
I wouldn't say that not trading with a country makes you more likely to go to war with them. I don't think that's a fair
Oh, that's fair.
correlation.
I'm saying I'm not okay. That's fair.
But trading with
it's
a country
it's
can
corollary.
say-
It's not
They
causal
were saying
per se.
they were saying it the other way around. That if you trade, then
it creates
you
a
will not go to
disincentive
war.
to go
Yeah,
to war.
yeah.
And this is what we were
exactly.
told in the 90s when we gave China most favored nation status under Clinton.
Right.
That as they begin to grow and become a trading partner, and as they get a taste of our
It will
liberal
open them up, and it will make them more
and what they did is
Yeah.
they polluted capitalism.
a
Get better
weird-
access to Halliburton and
It's
Raytheon.
a
So-
very bizarre, almost Marxist idea that the way we solve people's problems is just by increasing access to resources or building wealth. And it's
very
an issue of
materialistic.
materialism,
very
yeah. And so we
materialistic.
do see it with hyper-capitalist ideologies as well. But they meld together it's very ironic because people see like hyper-capitalism and communism as being diametrically opposed. But the reality is this idea that we can solve people's problems simply through materialism and that they will become more evolved and better people because their wealth has grown is obviously completely backwards, and we're seeing the effects of that now with China.
Look at what we did in Afghanistan. We gave them all iPads, but they don't have
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah, materialism.
You know, it's like, well, there you go. Congratulations, guys.
I think we need the U.S. government to heavily invest in some kind of public infrastructure for protecting the American people from nuclear war. Perhaps we could build big underground, vaults. And we'd call the company something related to that, like Vault
Tech.
Vault Tech.
Vault Tech.
Vault Tech.
Like technology.
And we would number
Vault
each
technology.
vault.
In order to communicate, could we have certain armbands?
Yes.
As an example.
Absolutely.
Like a computer?
That would
Like
actually.
computer
Well,
that you could wear. Right?
Yeah, like your iPhone.
But what would you even
phone, but
call
it'd be
something
like
like
a-
that? What would you even call
I
something
don't know,
like that?
Now, since the U.S. dollar is going completely
Pip-Boy or something like that?
Oh, I
since
like
the U.S.
it.
dollar is being devalued, what could we use as currency in this situation?
I don't
How-
know.
how
I
would
would use
we-
gold.
Oh, hey, no,
The
I
most-
actually have an idea.
No, the most logical answer to that question would be
Hold on, I'm gonna-
soda bottle caps.
I can't think of anything else that
Well,
would
it's
be better
metal.
than
You
soda
can
bottle
melt
caps.
the metal down. It's very.
all right.
It wouldn't make any sense to use ammo
I
as
wanna
currency.
point
Daniel's
out-
like, what
I
is
have
going
no-
on right now?
I assume it's a movie or a video game.
Fallout.
I don't know what we're talking
should
about.
definitely
I didn't even
Fallout.
play. I just know the lore.
I want to point out real quick.
I'm old.
When Jack said we could wear something on our wrists in Fallout, you have the Pit Boy, and the Pit Boy shows your health status. I'm literally wearing a Whoop.
You're pretty close,
Which I
yeah.
can pull up my
You're
health
already there.
status
You're
and
halfway
like
there.
my heart rate and stuff.
But it doesn't have the graphics.
But check it out. When I was getting sick, the Whoop knew I was sick before I knew I was sick.
Of course.
And so
And
did
that's
Google,
like-
of course. Whoever owns that.
and
So did
Google,
Jeff
right,
Bezos. Yeah.
Yeah,
He gets his
the,
report.
the Chinese found out.
Gets his
wait.
daily Tim Pool report.
Jeff Bezos is like he wakes up and he goes to grab his coffee and then he opens a tab and he goes, "Oh, Tim's sick."
Dude, wouldn't it be hilarious if there was just this long con sabotaging or like this idea of warfare where the companies that own that IP are actually like selling it to China, and then China ever so tweaks, they're like, all right, I know this is healthy for him. We're going to tell him to do the less healthy thing instead
Right.
of the thing that's more healthy for him because we're going to weaken him as a person.
You'll
It
notice
doesn't tell
people
me
didn't
what
really
to
laugh
do,
when you
though.
said that. That's kind of freakishly possible.
Do you think so?
Oh,
on that,
yeah.
on that,
People
on that
drive into
smaller level?
swamps because their Google Maps tell them to
No, Apple.
sometimes.
That was Apple.
No, I
Apple
think it's
Maps.
possible
always
that I
Apple
think it's
Maps.
possible that people would listen to that. Absolutely.
If your
Yo,
watch
I-
told
I'm
you,
half joking
yeah,
though
you,
about
you
this
need
because
an
it seems like
insulin
such
shot.
a tiny little thing. Yeah.
Before we get too far off this, so the nuclear plant situation, ton of, and this is a tweet from Ilya Lazovsky. The actual nuclear specialists are coming out of the woodwork to say that no, we would not see a Marvel movie style explosion. Yes, it is bad. Fuel could leak. There could be radiation that comes out of that. But let's not retweet government pronouncements uncritically. It is a different kind of reactor than Chernobyl. You can scram it. You can do emergency shutdowns. The concrete shells they have on this thing are capable of being hit by aircraft weighing 20 tons and not going... not melting down. And it's, Ian, you and I were just talking about this before. The reason Chernobyl melted down is because they were running a test and the test went crazy. It wasn't just some random fire that broke out and then it, ignited everything.
And
That's not how it
Chernobyl,
works.
because it exploded, it shot nuclear fissile material into the atmosphere, I believe, and then it blanketed the area.
Radioactive carbon.
If the corium just melts, it just falls into the earth. It just falls down and then hits the cement and then melts through the cement and keeps melting through the ground until
Right.
it
So we are
cools
not.
down.
So fortunately for everybody out there, crazy as it is, you are not in a situation where this thing could melt down over this.
Hey, they turned the chat on. It looks like. Oh no, okay, no, they stopped it. I see. The stream ended.
They did have a chat. Oh, they stopped the stream.
Yeah, stream ended.
No, that would have been. We'll see if they have a new
They
one.
have a new. They have a new.
Do they have a
live
new one
stream
up?
Yeah.
But does that have the chat up?
Disabled for this
chat
live
is
stream,
disabled.
Oh, I still have a check going, but maybe it's...
They disabled the chat for the nuclear firefight. I can't tell.
Well-
Can you imagine?
I mean, the
being able to
APCs
see
are still
the chat?
there. The artillery's still there.
Can you imagine, like, if we were able to document other historic events like this, like if we were able to watch live streams that had occurred of like events in World War II and see the chat and see what
Pick
people
its
were saying.
charge.
And a lot of people were just like, yeah.
I still have a chat on mine. You getting that?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're on a different one.
Oh.
Yeah, someone else has aggregated a bunch of live feeds. It looks like.
Hastings.com, like, oh, he's arrived.
Right.
William's here.
Well, I wonder.
The charge of the light brigade.
I wonder how much of it would just be like crazy, insane memes too, because I feel like what it's going to be today.
No, it was. I was talking about this. The Mega Minds Ukrainians with massive balls meme, and I'm like, it's a really garbage meme. But you've got intelligence agencies spamming pro-Ukraine propaganda. It works to a certain degree. Look at all of the people that have put the Ukrainian flags in their Twitter profiles.
Yeah,
I'll tell you one of the things that really triggered the establishment, the lefty activists, was when I said, I noticed everyone was flying West Virginia's colors. I was like, it's about time everyone recognized how awesome the state is, because, you know, West Virginia University uses blue and gold. They got pissed at me for that. I was like, why are you so mad? It's a joke about the colors for West Virginia. Calm down.
I think they really believe this is like the end of Western civilization. This is like the beginning of the end of Western civilization. People have been so freaked out and manipulated by Russia. I understand the fear of the Soviet Union communist nuclear missile crisis, but Russia is not the Soviet Union. It's a federation. You can argue there are a bunch of oligarchs in control over there, as well as you could argue that in America that there are. And in China, apparently, oligarchs are running the show.
And in Ukraine.
And in Ukraine.
But I do love what you said, because you have heard that a lot from politicians. This is an attack on Western civilization. We have to defend Western civilization. And the first thing I thought of was, if 6 weeks ago I said something about Western civilization, you would have called me like a white nationalist.
Yep.
True. No, you're
Nazi,
right. You're
Did you see-
absolutely right.
You know, so
Did
now
you
we
see-
love Western civilization again.
Did you see Joe Biden? When he said that the people of Ukraine are fighting for their homeland and they're like,
They have an iron will.
An iron will. And it was Lauren Southern pointed this out. She was like, that was like every racist dog whistle. That if Trump said that, they would start writing article after article saying it.
Protect us.
So
Especially-
her argument was he was accidentally racist
Yeah.
by their own standards. And she's right. She's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
They just ignored it.
So you know what they're doing, by the way, with this? They are going to, I guarantee you, they are going to try to use this nuclear plant situation as a way to get a no-fly zone instituted. You watch.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I can see. This is where it's going to go. They're going to turn
And-
around
and-
and say, you have to institute this because of the recklessness that we're seeing, because of the shelling, and you're going to have to institute a no-fly zone at whatever the cost. Whatever
And
the cost.
I assure you, in the event that happens, they're going to liken it to Chernobyl. They're going to say the risk of another Chernobyl should never be allowed.
Oh my goodness.
So we are instituting a no-fly zone. Vladimir Putin, mark my words.
I didn't see Chernobyl the movie, but was it scare tactic or was it accurate?
It was a TV show, wasn't it?
I thought it was.
four-part
I thought it was
series.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done, actually.
Yeah.
But did it
really,
scare
really
people
well done.
into like nuclear fear?
Oh, but big time. Big time. I mean, if you're someone who's anti-nuclear, that's the movie you want everywhere.
Heck, the Fukushima meltdown scared Angela Merkel into canceling her whole country's nuclear reactors.
Right.
And you want to say, but Germany doesn't have a lot of tsunamis, Angela. Like you shouldn't be worried about that. Let me tell you, Angela Merkel, if a tsunami hit Germany, nuclear fallout is the least of your problems, right? You got a lot bigger. But she shut down the entire country's nuclear program. Now they're buying LNG from Russia, and they're afraid to sanction
LNG,
Russia.
that
liquid natural gas,
which is methane.
which because
Methane? It's all-
almost
methane.
predominantly, and because they don't have enough energy.
What are there other natural gases than methane that are?
No, that's the predominant one is methane.
And if you look at Germany, like the amount of coast they have, it's not that much. So, you know, where are they shutting down these nuclear power plants? It's just Greta Thunberg comes out and she said those magic words. She said, "How dare you?" And everyone just collapsed and grasped their hearts and,
for
realized
years-
how wrong they were.
For years, we were talking about, Dan, you and I used to talk about this when we were doing One American News, that it was always the Russians that were funding these anti-fracking groups for years. And if you turned on, so okay, they banned RT, right? So RT America isn't there. I think they're still up on YouTube for now.
You can go to rt.com. I just want
And it was down for a little bit today.
Well, no,
actually.
they're. So let's do
But
this.
what was interesting, and you know, not to get into the censorship angle, but you could see what Russia's strategic interests were based on the story selection there, and a huge chunk of their programming was devoted towards green groups, was devoted to anti-fracking, was devoted to this because so
All
then you could
leftist.
watch that and you could say, oh, Well, that's something that Russia wants to push. I wonder why that is. And then I talked to a guy who understands energy.
But you'd sound like a lunatic if you said that just a couple of years ago. People were like, "Oh, take your tinfoil hat."
Like, "Oh, he wants to watch RT to find out what the Russians want." Like, doesn't that make sense?
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.